Hi everyone, welcome. So today I'm going to go over the AP US History exam. I'm going to take everyone through a couple questions and give you some tips and tricks on how to solve each one. So I'm going to go through 10 questions today, and I'm going to take you through how to do each question. So let's take a look at our first excerpt. So it mentions something about a clergy, multitudes of all sects and denominations. So it's basically talking about the religious influence within the colonies that was brought upon from England. So let's take a look at number one. So it says the religious culture was shaped by what? Well, it doesn't mention anything about Roman Catholicism because if we remember, England was not a Roman Catholic state at the time. So it can't be A. There's no commerce or business being discussed because it's strictly about religion being in the streets from Ben Franklin. Could be transatlantic exchanges. It's not going to be reliance on agriculture. So our answer is going to be C here because there's no mention of agriculture. The interest in commerce and business is not really there. And England was not a Roman Catholic state. So because of that, it's going to be choice C. Because the Protestant Reformation was brought over to the colonies as well due to the Anglican Church. So number two, open air preaching contributed to what of the following trends? So they don't mention anything about Republican motherhood, so automatically eliminate that. It doesn't mention anything about settlers going to the back country at all, and there's no pursuit of social reform. So our best choice is going to be B, greater independence and diversity of thought. Because if we see here, it says the multitude of all sects and denominations that attended his sermons were enormous. It means that people of different sects of Christianity and Catholicism were going and attending. So therefore, there's greater diversity of thought and there's more independence. That used to not really be a thing in Europe. So because of that, our best bet is going to go with choice B. So then we have number three. So the preaching described in the excerpt is which of the following developments? So we're going to eliminate B. There's no mention of slavery, and A as well because there's no Republican self-government. So it's either going to be the increased influence of the Enlightenment or the expansion of Protestant evangelism. So this is really hard to answer. Both answers could make sense, but you have to go with the one that's better and more specific to the excerpt at hand. So the excerpt is mentioning about religion in particular, is mentioning about the Protestant Reformation being brought over to the colony from the colonies from Ireland, right? So we need to take a look here and take a look which one is going to make more sense about Protestantism. The Enlightenment was brought along with Martin Luther's idea of the Protestant Reformation, but it's talking more about the religious expansion into the colonies. So therefore, we're going to pick choice D. Although C could be argued for an answer, D is the best one. You're going to get a lot of these like this. So when you have these, you need to look at the context of the problem is the most important thing. And make sure, if you're not sure if there's two really good answers, make sure to read the question over twice and the excerpt or picture over twice. That would be my recommendation. So then we have number 4, we have this migration chart. So which of the following was a significant cause from 1843 to 1854 of the rise? Well, we take a look here. As you see, the migrants went up quite a bit. So the United States never really created policy necessarily to have people migrate to the country. There was never really any of that in place, so it's not A. C, the U.S. companies at the time were actually not at all looking to hire skilled migrants. They'd rather hired somewhat unskilled because they could pay them less and be more profitable. So it wouldn't be C. D, free trade policies. People of European descent were not traded at the time as commodities. Therefore, it's not D. So the only one would be B. If we remember in Germany, at the time, the state was beginning to unify. There were a lot of different wars happening. They unified around a decade later, a little more, after 1854. So Germany had a lot of internal conflict and some external as well. So in addition to that, in Ireland, there was economic problems and also famines as well. So because of that, a lot of people escaped for a better opportunity in America. So therefore, our best answer choice is going to be B here. economic and political difficulties in Germany and Ireland. So which of the following was a direct trend after 1845? So if we remember, right, an increase in sectional tensions, that wouldn't quite be it, and it's not going to be a major economic downturn because the United States economy grew in the years following that. So as the migrants increased and immigration increased, the United States economy began rapidly industrializing, which caused the establishment of big companies such as JP Morgan, with American Steel Company with Andrew Carnegie, with Standard Oil and John D. Rockefeller. So it would not be an economic downturn. The collapse of the second party system, that just makes no sense. So we either have A or C. So we need to take a look. Okay, when immigrants came in, right? If we remember with Japanese and Chinese immigrants, for example, there was a lot of xenophobia, which meant people were not so kind to immigrants. And remember that increasing as more foreigners came in, they stuck to their own neighborhoods. They didn't really interact with the already Anglo-Saxon Protestant American community. So because of that, our best answer choice here is going to be C. Okay, and then we have number 6. So the main trend shown in the graph is directly associated with one of the following processes. Well, I just talked about it. We have the convergence of European and American cultures. This eventually happens, but it doesn't happen in this time period. It happens closer to the 40s, 50s, more in the 20th century, when immigrants, started to become second generation, first generation, third generation. That's when the cultures start to become more intertwined, and we adhere more to the melting pot theory that we know today. That would be a decent answer, but it's not the best one. Displacement of American Indians from the Southeast, we know that's just not it. They don't mention anything about Indians. The resurgence of evangelical Protestantism, well, with the immigrants coming in from various countries, especially later on, from Russia and also from Italy, there was a lot more Catholicism coming into the United States. So it's not D. So our best bet here is going to be B, the emergence of an industrialized economy. So if we remember when the immigrants came in, that gave a lot of these big companies that were starting to industrialize low pay and labor. And because of that, they would hire immigrants very frequently, and therefore this helped industrialize the American economy further. So we look at 7. So this mentions that, so this is from the Seneca Falls Convention. So we know this was about women's suffrage. So we take a look. They are stating that men never have allowed women the right to elective franchise, compelled to submit to possible unfair laws, to be deprived of rights of first citizen, and to not be able to own property and possibly even wages. So the ideas expressed in the excerpt most directly challenged which ideal in the 19th century. So this is stating that, hey, women should have equal rights to men. So it's not challenging enjoy full and equal rights with men. It's not challenging for them to earn wages in a positive development. And they're not educating their children about the rights and responsibilities. So it's going to be choice B. It's challenging that women should stay in the home and take care of children. So then we also have number 8, which of the developments in the second half of the 19th century best represented the continuation of the ideas expressed in the Declaration. Well, let's take a look. So they mentioned nothing about alcohol. So we're going to eliminate C. It mentions nothing really about religion, so we're going to eliminate choice D. So we're either going to have choice B and choice A. So we take a look. The social gospel, it could be a good answer, but it's not the best answer in our case. Because A, we saw many different women's organizations form, and then there were reform efforts later on in the 19th century and eventually in the 20th century too, which allowed for women to be granted the right to vote. So therefore, our best answer choice here is going to be A. And then we have number 9. So many supporters of the Declaration 1848 broke ranks with which of the following groups by the 1870s? Take a look here. Women's suffrage would not exactly be supportive of Southern recession states' rights. So let's take away B, social Darwinism. That doesn't make any sense too. Isolationism, not really. So our best answer is going to be the 15th Amendment. Now, if we look up what the 15th Amendment is, it states that citizens of the United States would not be denied the right to vote based on race, color, or previous condition of servitude. So they would agree with more people being allowed to vote. So therefore, our best answer choice would be C. And we have number 10. So this excerpt, so it means government are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. So it's basically talking about how the United States how the people have a right to abolish the government if it is no longer doing its job. So let's take a look here. So failure to protect colonists not going to be B. It's not going to be C because it's not regarding about their failures. Now, if it was, they're imposing their will to impose mercantilist policies, then it might be C. So we take a look here. Attempt to extend political rights to new groups. That just doesn't make sense. Where best answer choice is going to be A, because they're basically not mocking, but they're making an example of the British government saying, hey, you guys have tried to unleash unfair control over our colonies, and we believe that the people have a right to be able to overthrow their government if the government does not adhere to its principles. So then we have number 11 as well. Okay, this will be our last question for today. The ideas about the government expressed in the excerpt are most consistent with which of the following? So it's not going to be manifest destiny because the United States did not apply that doctrine at the time. The principle of religious freedom. It doesn't mention anything about religious freedom necessarily, so it's not going to be C. Now, it could either be hereditary rights and privileges or the ideas of the Enlightenment. So it could be either or. So we take a look. It does say safety and happiness here, right? But this also is mentioning about the Enlightenment, and we had a lot of great thinkers in the Enlightenment that believed that in democratic governments. So the main message of this excerpt, it should be interpreted as, hey, the people have a right to have a democratic government. So rather than an absolutist monarchy or a constitutional monarchy. So even though the concept of hereditary rights and privileges could be argued, our best answer, because the excerpt is more specifically talking about having a fair government, it's going to be D, representing the ideas in the Enlightenment, which one of them was to have republics and democratic governments. So therefore, best answer is going to be D. So that's it, guys. That's the first 11 questions. I will continue to go through this through different parts in some of my other videos. If you enjoyed my content, please like and subscribe, and I hope this helped. See you soon.